I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, March the 3rd, where stocks spiked to open the week on Monday. Biggest one-day increase in history. Of course, that's following last week when it tanked, and one of the days was the largest loss in history. But we're in an election year. We know things are going to be very volatile. This coronavirus deal has so much uncertainty. Nobody knows what to do, but it's starting to appear that it's just going to be something that we have to live with. We're going to have to try to be more sanitary. We're going to have to take better care of ourselves. And we're just going to have to deal with it, similar to the way that we've dealt with influenza. But, this coronavirus deal is not settled. It's not going away anytime soon, but we've got to go on. And so your stock spiked, and just a lot of encouragement there. I can't help but think that part of it is because we are starting to become clear now that President Donald Trump is going to win re-election in November. We had 3 more people seeking the Democratic presidential nomination drop out over the weekend, and so we're down now to a socialist, a guy that misspeaks more than I do, and Pocahontas, a fake Indian. But so we're getting to the point now where we're starting to see the fog clear a little bit, and maybe we know what's ahead. And there's still going to be a lot of volatility, of course, in your futures markets too, but also in the stock market and just in general with the economy. But for the most part, we're in pretty good shape. Spent Monday out in familiar country in northeastern New Mexico at the Reverse Rock and R Ranch, which is Chris Earle's managed ranch there, the Angus sale. They had a production sale on Monday. Got along real good. We had several purchases over DV Auction. I wanted to give you guys a look. I've been doing this during the sales season here. DV Auction's production sale report for last week, including the whole weekend. We had over 3,500 bids over the DV Auction console on production sales. That was more than $12.5 million bid. But in total lots sold, over 700 lots were sold, nearly $2.5 million worth. So if you're interested in promoting your production sale that way and having that kind of access to buying power, get a hold of your DV Auction website. We can find one of our reps there and come out and get you guys booked up for your production sale, or keep it in mind for the next round. Let's talk about your board for Monday. April live cattle futures up $2.57 to end the day at 110.15 for April. June was up $2.77. Huge gains, guys, just like the stock market. And I've been telling you guys how closely they're related. June up $2.77 at 103.97. March feeder cattle up $2.45 at 133.72. April up $2.35 at 135.05. Your weighted average on last week's fat cattle trade, negotiated sales out of your 5 area feeding region, we had a total volume for the week of 77,000, which is about where we've been, maybe a little bit heavy compared to what we've been doing. But we're not making quite 20%, and I still preach that we've got to maintain a minimum amount of negotiated trade in your 5 area feeding region from your big packers, and if we don't, we're going to lose this industry altogether. That's 77,000 compared to 74,800 the previous week, and 104,600 the same week a year ago, and that's kind of where we need to be at least. But your live sales of steers and heifers last week out of your feedlots ranged from 112 to 118, mostly 115, and that was $5 lower straight up. You look at your weighted average on live steers, it was 114.85, and you compare that to the weighted average from the previous week, it was down $4.86. Dress sales of steers and heifers last week had a huge range from 178 to 187. It was 183 to mostly 185, and that was $5 lower for the most part. Your dress steer weighted average for last week was 184.78, actually down $5.32 for the week. Nationwide negotiated sales 92,900 head last week. A third of those, guys, a full third of those was for the 15 to 30 day delivery. Tell you what, on a hard down market, your packers are trying to set this thing up to crater it even more going down the line. They've been trying hard to get people to price cattle out 2 weeks, 4 weeks, a month and a half ahead into the time where we're going to see increased show lists, and they can really hammer the market on there. But guys are falling for it, and a third of those sales, that nearly 93,000 last week and nationwide negotiated, were for the 2 to 4 week delivery. Box beef cutout values were up, and like I told you last week, through all this coronavirus scare here, and and they reasoned that, saying that we were fearful that people weren't going to be traveling as much and they weren't going to be eating out as much and things like that. Your choice box beef cutout values were actually higher for the week last week. It was cattle that took the wreck and were sharply lower. So are we worried about people not traveling around buying cattle? No, we were worried about them not traveling around and eating or purchasing beef, yet your beef values were higher and your cattle were sharply lower. That's what we're facing, guys, and it's not fair at all. Let's look at your feeder cattle markets, and I haven't give you guys an update on how you can buy some upgrading type of light stocker calves. We're getting right here. We're right on purchasing cattle for graze out wheat. If you guys want to start your early purchases for grass, and most of your big grazing outfits have already purchased a lot of their grass cattle. Here in a month and a half, we're going to be turning cattle out here on the major grazing areas in the Flint Hills and the Osage and places like that. But always talk about the highest cattle you can possibly buy. How about some cattle you can kind of buy worth the money? Get them in, upgrade them, make bunches out of them, make loads out of them, and add value to them. And by doing that, you're going to have to call one of your big shippers, and the one that's most free with his information and very transparent is my buddy Ellison Carter down there by Weatherford, Texas. He's got 40 to 50 buyers in all those little sale barns in central and eastern Texas and around, and can put you together some cattle that you'll like pretty darn good. And like I said, they'll be upgrading kind of cattle that you can add value to through putting them in bigger bunches and load lots and turning them out, putting some more weight and age and gain on them there. But I want to give you a rundown of the loads that he shipped on Sunday. He shared with me steers and bulls. Had a load weight to average weight 282 pounds steers and bulls for $192. These are all delivered prices, guys, up to the grass areas and to the graze out wheat areas. Load average 332 at $191. Some 421 pound steers and bulls at $154 delivered. Some 508 pounders at $146 delivered, and 619 pound good steers and bulls Okie type cattle at $141 delivered. On the heifer side, I tell you what, these sound worth the money. Load average 271 at $158, 321 pound heifers at $151, 380 pounders at $135, 560 pound load of heifers at $133, and a load that averaged 626 pounds at $130 delivered. And if you're interested in getting some of those kind of cattle, get a hold of them at EllisonCarterCattle.com. Let's talk about some other prices in your big sales. Real-time index on DV auction, 134.72 late on Monday. That was actually up 20 cents. That's the first time it's been up in more than a week. Excuse me. You saw that we were at 134 at the end of the week last week, and your latest CME feeder cattle index at the time was well above that. Well, whenever they got done with their week's quotes, it come in and plunged below that at 133.52. I tell you what, that's even lower than what your spot March feeder cattle contract is quoting to end the day on Monday. Look at your big high volume sales. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma National Stockyards, only 6,000 head. Guys are just scared to sell them, and why would they take them in on a down market after we've lost so much market position? We gained some back. Part of that was due to the light receipts. I mean, the guys still had orders to fill, and they went in there and started pushing around, especially on some grazing type cattle, and they were higher. Feeders were mostly steady to $2 higher in Oklahoma City. Steer calves $4 to $5 higher. Heifer calves $3 to $8 higher. Joplin Regional Stockyards, that's the lightest run I remember them having without a weather deal or a holiday. 3,300 head, and guys were just a little bit fearful of bringing them in. Look at the steers. Those weighing under 500 pounds were steady to $5 lower still. Your 5 to 7 weight middleweight steer calves steady to $3 higher, and those weighing over 700 pounds about steady. Heifer calves over 600 pounds steady to $3 lower, and lighter weights, mostly in the 5s, were about steady. My friend Steve Kinney, him and his grandson Rowdy, they swallowed hard over the weekend and decided they'd go ahead and take their calves to the sale. Got along real good. I tell you what, had the quality, and then brought them in a nice big bunch, and they sold real good. Here I found them on Cattle Market Central. 74 head, 539 pound steer calves, $189 at Joplin Regional Stockyards, and he was sure glad to get that kind of a price for them, and glad to get them gone. Don't have to worry about them anymore. Look at some other quotes that were pretty impressive around the circuit. Elgin Livestock Sales, Elgin, Nebraska. Ted Baum and Company there. 85 head, 865 pound steers, 139 and a quarter. That's pretty impressive. You go well west of there. Faith Livestock Commission, Faith, South Dakota. This was the first 8-weight quote I've seen here for a week or so that was over 140, but in the 8s, 68 head, 818 pound steers, bring 140 and a quarter. But the highest quote I saw come out of a sale out there in western Nebraska. Platte Valley Livestock out of Gearing, Nebraska, 138 head of 697 pound steers, might as well say 700 pounds at 163. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.